Money isn't real. Doesn't matter. It only seems like it does.
Through training camp, I see.
Those are pretty damn good averages. Hi, Alex Himes here, and it's time to get it right. Well, guys, we're back. The studio's been built. Finally getting my life together. I've started the new year out off of nicotine, off of weed, off of alcohol. We're doing sober 2020 to some degree. We're having a good time, making new friends, and here we are. This is Get It Right with Alex Himes, and today on the podcast and the show, we are joined by good friend Jay Ticker of the Ticker Report.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, in the building. What's good?
I've been watching a lot more of Joe Rogan, and I really got to tell you, I love the style of how he does things. When he does interviews, it doesn't feel like an interview. You know, it feels more like a conversation between two people.
Correct.
You know? And right now, all we see out there in sports is cheating scandals, fun, but yet slights going on at the All-Star game. Just like a lot of nonsense out right now. I mean, what's the thing that's on your mind most predominantly?
At the moment, unfortunately, that would have to be the Astros cheating scandal. Why do you ask? I mean, it's pretty simple. I don't think anybody likes cheaters, but when you talk about a team who has had this success that they've had within the past 3 to 4 years, for 3 to 4 seasons, it just kind of rubs you the wrong way because it's not coming from a place of, oh, wow, that team is great. Now that all the information is coming out, you're kind of looking at them as in, oh, that's how you got there?
Yeah.
And so
it's slighted.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what the fans want, and I don't know if that's good for the league. Besides the steroid scandal, I mean, this is probably one of the most highlighted scandals that have happened within the past 2 decades, and it's very unfortunate, especially as a Dodger fan.
I mean, the steroid scandal was an individual player thing. You know, one player can't win a World Series.
Sure.
So you have guys taking roids. It brings a lot of fun, a lot of showcasing to the MLB. Unfortunately, at that point, they didn't have the steroid scandal during the social media era, or else the MLB social media would be booming. It would be crazy. That would probably be one of the most top sports right now. Yet, here we sit, and the Astros have multiple World Series runs, multiple titles, and I myself find myself thinking, you know, those titles were won off scandals. They had a whole team environment bought in on it. No matter how many players say they weren't a part of it, the fact that you were aware someone was doing it and he didn't come forward, even the years after that they won the first, second year you'd expect someone to come forward and say something. Nope, all right, next year. Doesn't happen. Oh, wait, we get to the next year where they're facing the Nats in the World Series and all these reports are going on. And that's kind of at that point where you go, all right, we'll give it to them because we can't get caught up in this. We need to look like we're official, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I mean, even Manfred's response, I got to tell you, that was the dumbest response. And I think
loved it.
I loved it too to some degree. Like,
I loved it.
The fact that he called it a piece of metal and people are freaking out about it.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you're really going to make a guy who's in charge of baseball, who gave a terrible ruling in response to this, leeway and focus on the wording, the verbiage he used for the World Series trophy? I mean, come on, man.
Well, we're journalists, right? And at the end of the day, it's all about getting some clickbait going on. So if you can take that small slogan quote out of it and use that as a headline, that's going to sell newspapers. And God rest in the newspapers business. So it's going to make headlines. And if you're going to put that on Twitter, you already know that's going to go viral, bro. So at the end of the day, that's what you want to see if you're a journalist. If you're a person that needs content, you're going to publicize that. You're going to make it a big deal. And as we've seen on Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere else on television, ESPN, I mean, that's still a runner on the ticker. The ticker.
There we go. Little infomercial moment right there people.
Go. Had to. Shameless plug.
But you see what I mean, though? How people have shifted their focus from the fact that it was focused on Lunau and I'm really going to forget his name now. The GM and the bench coach, right?
Yeah.
They claim that, and then they also tie Alex Cora with the Red Sox, which is an entirely different story. And as a Red Sox fan, I will be the first person to say that I'm sure that there was some stuff going on with the Sox, right? But we only got to see really 1 year of it. So in terms of what's egregious and what isn't, And if we are all hearing that Correa was in charge of this whole cheating scandal, right? Alex Cora sure was a part of it, but I doubt he took a lot of what he was doing there to Boston. The Apple Watch thing makes perfect sense. You know, using Apple Watches, take advantage of the system. Okay, I get that. But you have a whole team system in place. And all the guys from Boston are cool as cucumbers right now in their interviews. You'd usually see someone crack a little bit, or they'd look a little funny, you know? We haven't seen any of that out of Boston. All you see is that out of Houston.
Yeah, well, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Actually, we have seen this in Boston more than once. And I'm not talking about baseball, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, God.
We're going to go ahead and reference the New England Patriots, which I'm sure we're going to be able to open a discussion about that at some point in this conversation. But if you go back to the Spygate and the Deflategate.
Deflategate, that not so much. That not so much. I've always literally deflated everyone's argument when it comes to Deflategate for multiple reasons.
Did they deflate the balls?
The footballs were claimed to be deflated in a first half where they were up 7-0. What happened in the second half? They were given the proper balls, correct? Mm-hmm. They ended up winning, I believe, by it was 35-7, if I'm correct, or 35-14. So in the half that they had the NFL regulated footballs, they actually did better than the first half where they claimed to have these footballs. Brady gets suspended next year, comes back, wins it, and gets to basically have Goodell give him the championship to his face after suspending him. And multiple reports have come out year in and year out since then, saying little bits of details about Deflategate, saying it's not as true as everyone thinks. There's some shady stuff going on there that tarnished their reputation. And when you attach it to a team like the Patriots and Belichick, at a time where people already have Spygate on their mind, which I will never doubt, and I will never question Spygate. As a Pats fan, never question it. You will never hear me question it. Mm-hmm. But if you have a cheating scandal already and you attach something to it, just like you saw with the Cincinnati Bengals stuff, where the Pats actually filmed them, it's like, come on, bro. You really think that the Pats are going to use something from the Bengals for that degree? Really? It's the fucking Bengals. Excuse my words. We're gonna end up using that in a little bit. That'll be on the online version. But see how fired up I got there?
Hey, that is a true Boston fan, right? So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and shift gears, if you don't mind, and we're gonna go back to the initial conversation, which was the Houston Astros. I totally believe that they should go back and return the trophies back to the commissioner, and the commissioner should obviously consider those Yankees or Dodgers, giving them an opportunity to get some type of reciprocity, bro. Are you serious? Like, there's no reason why they shouldn't be given some type of replay or I guess. In the NBA, they do those things like, for instance, the Lakers and the Clippers, they have to do that makeup game. Why can't they create a system to where those guys can go out there and play another 7 games? I know it sounds crazy, but at the end of the day, you're talking about fairness. And the world of sports is beginning to become more tainted as time progresses. Yep. And we're starting to see it happen more often, but in our lifetime, that's the reason why I believe it's such a shocker. But if you go back into the 50s and 60s and 70s, man, they actually been doing this cheating stuff for quite a while. And you think about the effect of Vegas, right? I mean, sometimes I will say, I look at myself and I say, what the hell am I doing this for as a fan? Because all I'm really doing is torturing myself. So sometimes I have to turn off the TV when I see that ref blow that whistle when obviously there wasn't a foul against that competitor. And then it's funny how evolution takes place. I remember the last 5 to 6 years, Kobe was playing in the league, right? And he was still at the end of his prime, but he was still Kobe Bryant. He still could give you that Mamba mentality, hit that game-winning shot, hence the one that he shot on D-Wade, that three-point shot that banked off the backboard and went in. That was nuts. But it's just, you notice that post, let's just say prime, in some athletes' career, superstars only, this only pertains to superstars, that when that last few years are in and you kind of like, this guy's losing his first step, and you notice the refs kind of cater to that opposite superstar that they're playing against.
Yep.
And it happens a little bit too often, and that's pretty much, it's becoming a trend, man.
I'd say I can give you an example of that right now.
Talk to me.
When you see LeBron James play against James Harden.
Oh, yeah.
James Harden is a foul receiving machine. And you know, even better example, because of one particular move that everyone knows and will associate with this player, CP3, the up and under.
Sure.
Right as he goes up for the three, he gets the light foul just by any player, because we see how the refs now are calling little ticky-tacky fouls. There's almost no ability to get contact drawn from a player without receiving a foul call.
Sure.
We back in the day did not have, and this is even before my time and your time.
Sure.
There was no one called a defensive specialist. Now we
Man.
have a designated fucking position. We have a designated title for this. This is how I can give. I'll go
He's
back.
fired
at it.
up, ladies and gentlemen.
Tony Allen, defensive specialist. Kobe said that's one of the best defensive players he played against.
Sure.
Now you look at guys like on specific teams. What should we go with right now? Like on the Celtics.
Yeah.
You could quasi-claim Marcus Smart is the defensive specialist, even though he is both a three-point threat and also a driving threat.
He is, and I got to commend him on that because he's really worked on his three-point shot, bro.
I have
And
text messages.
He does so well.
Oh, my God.
I'm very, honestly, I liked Marcus Smart in college, but when he first got to the league, I was kind of like, I don't know if this guy is going to be a starter.
I didn't know if he was
going to
gonna
be
translate.
somebody that's going to be off the bench. He's going to be actually, he was less of an offensive talent than Jeff Green was, right? Jeff Green was supposed to have been a great two-way player.
Oh, my God.
But you talk about a guy like Marcus Smart, I totally didn't see it coming from him, and he's actually hitting clutch three-point shots too, which makes him even more of a threat. So shout out to you, Marcus.
I have text messages with my cousin Scott, who's from Mass, right? Where we talk about, during the Celtics games, if Marcus Smart shoots another three, I'm going to lose my damn mind. And here we are all these years later in 2020. Marcus Smart has the record for most triples made in a game by a Celtic with 11.
Yeah.
That does not compute.
Yeah.
And this is the same guy who was averaging, 25 a game at OSU in college.
He's
And
killing.
I thought he was going to come out and be an offensive force. It
Sure.
took time,
Yeah.
but Brad Stevens found a way to incorporate him into this system and get him offensively sound on what he needs to do for this team.
Who doesn't get enough credit, and I truly believe that. And guys, by the way, if you're talking about a fan, I'm a Lakers fan all day, every day, but I'm a advocate of truthfulness. And when the truth speaks, it says that Brad Stevens, he's definitely not over his head, which most people started to say when he had Kyrie on the team. And that's another discussion for a whole nother day, because I know you can sit here and bellow about that for 24 hours. But I don't know if we got enough time, do
Sip
we?
my water for right now.
There you go. Do what you do. So, yeah, man, I don't know. What you want to see from this Boston Celtics team is I want to see them go all the way. I believe that coaching-wise, if you want to compare them to Milwaukee, most people are picking Giannis to go to the Eastern Conference Championship and take it. But if you ask me, okay, and I've been watching basketball for over 30 years, Boston has a chance, and they can really do some damage. And it could go 6 or 7, for sure. They've got the right pieces. They've got the defensive specialist. They also have other guys that are willing to lock down on defense as well. They've got Jason Tatum, who I believe, with the exception of Ja Morant, could be the next Kobe Bryant, to be honest with you. Oh, yes.
People, did you hear that hot take?
I said that because the reason you look at a guy who came from North Carolina, right? And he played his ass off. He was great. And I said, I was looking at him one day. I forget what game it was, but it was a Sweet 16 game, or it was a March Madness game. And I said, and he stuck out to me. And I really wasn't paying, because I don't really like to pay attention to the Dukes and the North Carolinas, because that's kind of too easy. I kind of like to look at the teams that don't
Kentucky,
get that.
you know?
Yeah, here he goes.
Shout out to everyone in Lexington
And
who's tuning in right now.
I like to look at also the underdog teams, because those are the ones that are most interesting to me. Because when D Wade was coming from Marquette, I was like, that guy, he sticks out on the court. It's just like one of those players that you see on the football field every time that they're in that play. You know, it does. They don't have to necessarily make big plays, but they're always in the play.
Yep.
That's what I saw out of Jason Tatum. I saw that he could be a great offensive talent, but then I also saw that he wasn't afraid to play defense. And I said, just with a little bit more experience, and if he continues to expand on his skill set and to multiply in his willingness to be a great player, he's going to be something nice. And we saw it in that second year, and it was that first season as a rookie. He blew everyone away.
It was the year that they went to the Eastern Conference Finals and were legitimately 12 minutes away from playing in the finals against Golden State.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the freight train of LeBron James and the inexperience of the young Celtics, they were led by Terry Rozier, led by Smart, led by Tatum, led by Brown. I mean, these guys were ready.
To me, that was a squad, too.
Okay. The one thing I do want to get back to is the Astros cheating scandal, because we've gotten a little way. I want to get the final notes for this. And on my end, I got to tell you outright, they should vacate the titles for the Houston Astros. And even though you mentioned you think there should be some type of summer series or something justifying a battle between the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Oh, during the offseason. Let me clarify that. During the offseason.
Right now would be a prime time to do
Sure.
it. Even though we're getting spring training started and whatnot, like realistically right now, especially with how things are going, it would make sense.
Sure.
But we can't retroactively go back and edit history. It could be a toss-up between the Yankees and the Dodgers to whomever would have won that series.
Yeah.
But what we can do is vacate it, make sure no one won it. Do the same thing Louisville did. They had their title vacated and swept. And then pull a little bit of what we saw with Manchester City. I loved the comparison. Someone on Twitter actually tweeted it out. If anyone who's listening and watching on YouTube finds it, let me know. There was the tweet where this guy said, look at what they're doing. They demoted them and prevented them from basically going to the Premier League for postseason play. Legitimately what that would be.
That's beautiful.
So prevent the Astros from going forward for 2 years in postseason play and have them surrender their picks in the next 2 years. You can't go back and change the past, but what you can do is screw the future for them, because they were screwing everyone else. You got to teach them a lesson. And Manfred clearly doesn't understand the concept of teaching a lesson, because he won't vacate the titles and hasn't been about doing that.
That's an interesting point, because that's very perpendicular to how they do the college bowl games. So, for instance, if you all are familiar with the USC scandal, the Reggie Bush scandal.
Let's make it very clear. Scandal.
Okay, we literally, if you're watching video, scandal.
2 fingers going down in quotations.
They essentially, USC was not able to do anything for, I believe it was like a 5-year ban or something
5
like
years.
that.
4 or 5. Fact check
I'm
if
not
anyone's
sure,
watching.
please. But you saw the recruitment process was horrible. I mean, that was a trickle-down effect on the coach, the head coach, Pete Carroll. He got the hell out of there. Yes, but that's what you want to see for something that you felt morally just isn't right in the game of sports. When you talk about betting and gambling, a lot of people lost money. I mean, if you want to go ahead and make it right, I believe vacating the titles totally makes sense. And I hate to say that because I don't want to agree with Alex right now, but you got a great point, brother. And those Red Sox, I want to do some more investigation on them as well.
You know, as a Sox fan, I got to tell you, it's one thing to see it go on for another team and multitude of years too, and also a multitude of success, because we had Cora for 2 years. First year, won the World Series, correct? Team was playing great. We had the second best player in baseball, arguably, in Mookie Betts, whom I am so sorry that you are now wearing Dodger blue. Solely because,
you don't have to be sorry, though.
No, I'm sorry because from the Sox perspective, we basically gave him away for a washing machine, like in, what was that movie? I'm going to forget it now. It's with Will Ferrell, and they play basketball. Not Tropic Thunder. The team is the Tropics. Man, I'm forgetting right now.
Tropic Thunder.
No. Tropic Thunder was the one with Ben Stiller.
Oh, okay.
This is the one where the team was the Tropics and it's Will Ferrell playing basketball. He had the...
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
It starts with an S, I feel like.
Wasn't that supposed to be in Florida or something like
Yes,
that?
the Florida Tropics.
Yeah.
Anyway, we basically gave him away for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
And he is such a good player. And on top of this is like how I view Jason Tatum in the sense that I'm going to be able to tell my kids and my grandkids when I grow up, I remember Jason Tatum with no beard in first year going into the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron.
I like Jason
best
Tatum
dunk.
with no beard. I like Jason Tatum with no beard, actually.
Oh, my God,
Pause.
man. It was a memory and a moment for us.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm going to be able to say that about him going down the road. This is a guy, him and Jaylen Brown are going to be Celtics for life. I genuinely feel that they will be the next Paul Pierces for the Celtics, right? I thought Mookie was going to be the same way, the same type of David Ortiz type
Why
players.
did you think that?
Because he represented the city so well. He just felt like an overall good guy. Like
He's a terrible guy now?
No. By no means am I criticizing his character.
Yeah.
Like, this was a guy I wanted to represent us for the rest of his career.
You loved him.
Like, this is a guy that after a World Series game was going to feed the homeless. Like,
Yeah.
This is a guy that could have represented the city well after having Big Papi retire and looking for the next face.
That was your Big Papi replacement.
That was the next guy.
Yeah.
And it's just such a shame because you see all the fluster of moves that they're making. We managed to get Alex Verdugo of all freaking players.
Oh, poor Alex.
Imagine how it feels being a Sox fan. I have yet to see him out there. All I know is the fact that he is injured, has back issues, and is more known for off-the-court issues than he is on-the-field issues. And
You think baseball's trying to give the Dodgers like a little sorry it happened, here you go present?
like a mulligan type of thing?
Yeah, it kind of seems like that.
I actually heard this interesting thought process from Bill Simmons on the Ringer podcast, right? Where he mentioned that, the Red Sox just gave away Mookie for the concept of, all right, this guy is going to command $400+ million, right?
Sure.
And to be fair, they had been in negotiations with Mookie for 3 years straight, trying to get him to do a $300 million deal, right?
Correct.
First year, he doesn't do a $300 million deal. You're like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
After second year, when you win a World Series, okay, you've kind of just changed the trajectory of our team and what's going on, even if there's some slight shady stuff going on in the background, right? This man was worth it. And we always hear about how baseball players, on the back end, it doesn't matter. First 5 years are really where it counts, That's why you sign a guy like that, especially because he's only 27 years old. But we traded him, and Bill Simmons makes a point that the Sox management could at this point be trying to get under the tax system so that they can sell off, that they can just be done with it. Because it's an expensive team. They've done 4 rings within the time frame that they bought the team, and it's time to just change it up.
Sure. That totally makes sense.
It's just an interesting thought process, of which, at the same time, I think it's more of along the lines of, well, he wants $450. We're not going to give it to him. We'll send you over someplace else. We get $5 for, $5,000. And now we're just going to go start paying all these little guys out of nowhere.
Well, if this makes you feel any better, the Red Sox have been hot for quite a while. The last 2 decades, they've been a really good team. Some years haven't been as great, but I mean, as a fan of baseball and a Red Sox fan, you got to at least be somewhat prideful and happy about that. I mean,
my favorite moment isn't even a ring.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
It was after the Boston bombing, and we saw,
Jesus.
in particular, for one reason,
God,
things were
Alex.
down in Boston, right? And during the first Sox game, midday game, David Ortiz takes the mic
Yeah.
and says,
That was dope.
on live TV, this will be censored for the radio version, this is our fucking city.
Yeah.
And you heard it. They didn't censor it. And you saw everyone in the stadium stand up and clap. I'm out here watching the game with my mother, who is from Massachusetts, and we're both standing up, just so happy.
Yeah.
And at a point where things are rough. Like I'm watching the Celtic game later that day where you see the firemen being honored and the police being honored, and you see all the patches for Boston on the Celtics uniforms. That is still, to this day, one of my favorite moments in Boston sports history.
Yeah. I'd have to agree. I didn't see the game in particular, but I did
Everyone
see
knows
it on
that.
ESPN. Yeah,
Everyone
for sure.
knows that moment.
Yeah. That was a trailblazing moment.
for Red Sox fans and for Bostonians, you remember where you were in that moment.
Yeah.
Just like I might be a Celtics fan, but I'm from LA. I know the exact moment I found out Kobe passed, when Gianna passed, when all those people passed. I will never forget that. Like our parents talk about, like my parents at least talk about how they remember exactly where they were when Kennedy was assassinated. Like they know exactly where they were and can talk about that moment. Like it's just one of those moments where things transcend sports, where it transcends everything. It's just, this is a human moment in our nation. Yeah.
Wow. Jeez. Oh, well, so I'm going to ask you this, because this is a question that I have for those who aren't supportive of the Lakers. Now, currently the Clippers just acquired Reggie Jackson, or he hasn't landed actually in Clipperland yet. But according to reports, Adrian Wojnarowski, I'm going to put this one on you because you reported it. If it doesn't happen, we're laughing at you. What do you think is going to happen in Lala now that Reggie Jackson is potentially going to become a LA Clipper?
Guys, this is the last part of the interview with my good buddy Jay Ticker of the Ticker Report. Jay.
Building.
There we go. And guys, we'll take a moment real quick just to say, please go like and subscribe on YouTube at Alex Himes, as well as check us out on social media at HimesLA, HYMESLA. And also, Jay, why don't you give them your shout out?
Of course, guys, you can follow me at Jay Ticker. That's JAYTICKER. And also make sure you follow us on our podcast / startup media Instagram page at The Ticker Report. That's THETICKERREPORT. One word. Let's get it.
Time is ticking. So people, wow, that's a wild cover photo.
That's nuts, bro.
That's nuts. Facebook video has been getting wild lately, people.
I need you to stop.
All right, to answer your question real quick about the Reggie Jackson thing with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Clippers, look, I got to tell you outright, this was a move done more so to spite the Lakers, and they've been getting screwed left and right. The Lakers have been rumored basically with almost every free agent on the buyout market. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who else was there? There was Reggie Jackson. They missed out on Darren Collison. What was the other guy's name who was on the buyout market that they missed out on? Marvin Williams. Missed out on all these guys. I have the slightest inclination that although this move was done out of spite, the Clippers are better off, to be honest. They are way better off for this coming season than they were going into the All-Star break. They're ready to go, and the Lakers have made zero moves and adjustments.
Correct.
And they've had a lot of moves that we've talked about needing to make, adding a guard-worthy wing, adding someone to be another ball handler, hence why we thought Darren Collison was the perfect fit.
I mean, let's just be honest, Alex. I don't really think that you're upset about this at all. I
want to see the best basketball players. I do. I want to see both LA teams.
I thoroughly believe that you're somewhat deep down inside. You're smiling, and you'll sleep well at night tonight. But for us Laker fans, man, we are literally going to have a panic time come playoff time. And the reason why I believe that is because LeBron is aging. And
yeah, I could have told you that.
If you've noticed his play, now we understand that superstars, when you play in the league for such a long time, you understand when to turn it on, when to turn it off. Although I don't believe that he can turn it back on the way that he did when he had Kyrie on the Cleveland Cavaliers before he left. When they won that championship for the city of Cleveland, I don't see it in LeBron's movement. His lateral movement is a little bit slower. Now, granted, he still is one of the top athletes in the world. To be able to move the way that he does and still have that speed burst that he has at the age of 35. And he's adapted to it pretty well. You want to see him develop that mid-range shot, but you're not going to see it because if you haven't seen it yet, then it's most likely not going to go. And what you have to understand when it comes to LeBron, I believe we want to see what we saw when he was in Cleveland and Miami. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get that type of LeBron. Now, moving to your point, you mentioned earlier, the moves that we lost out on, they were quite disrespectful on the Clippers' behalf. But from a competitor standpoint, you got to take your hat off to them.
Jay, thank you for coming by on the show today, my guy.
Thanks for having me.
We really appreciate you coming to the studio.
Easy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go ahead and check us out on YouTube at Alex Himes and also on social media everywhere at HimesLA, HYMESLA. Give us a like and subscribe, and also comment down below what you liked from this episode.
Money isn't real. Doesn't matter. It only seems like it does.
Through training camp, I have to see.
Those are pretty damn good averages. Hi, Alex Himes here, and it's time to get it right.